So in this video today I want to show you how to make a perfect beef carpaccio. And carpaccio was invented originally in 1950 by Giuseppe Cipriani, who was the owner of Harry's Bar in Venice. And he had a friend or a regular customer who was a countess, and she was told by a doctor that she shouldn't eat any cooked meat anymore, that she should go into a diet of raw meat. So she told Giuseppe about it, and Giuseppe came up with that dish, which obviously has his inspiration somewhere else in Italy, but I'll tell you a bit about that more later on. So Giuseppe came up with that idea. He got thin slices of beef, he topped it with the mustard mayonnaise, and then he named it after the famous Renaissance painter Vittorio Carpaccio, who loved to make lots and lots of paintings in red, or used red as a dominant color in his paintings. So Carpaccio is named after Vittorio Carpaccio. It was invented by Giuseppe Cipriani in 1950, and it probably got its influence from Piedmont, because in the Lagny region they serve antipasto dish, which is, and you can find it throughout all of Piedmont, and it's made from thin slices of raw veal, and then it's seasoned with lemon juice, olive oil, salt and pepper, and sometimes even seasoned. It's also served with thin slices of white Albert truffles. Now today you sort of more find often a carpaccio that has a bit changed from the original recipe, and you will find that sometimes it's topped with olive oil, balsamic vinegar, sometimes with lemon, but most often you find that it also contains rocket and parmesan shavings, which go really well. Other versions would have capers on it, olives, and I basically want to show you now how it's done. So first what you need is obviously some mayonnaise, which you can learn in my online courses, some mustard, and it should be a hot English mustard, salt, pepper, and some beef fillet. So the beef fillet is really superior. I mean, you can use any beef that's really lean. Don't go off and use something like a Wagyu steak or so, because it's not good for carpaccio like it is with tartare, because if the meat has a lot of fat, it will not melt. It only melts when you cook. So in a raw state, it will just cover your gums, and it's not going to be nice. So I use eye fillet because that's the original recipe, but you can also use other cuts. Eye fillet is obviously the best one you can use. So then just cut off the sinewy bits, which means anything of that silver skin, which are the tendons or the extension of the tendons, you need to cut it out, because what we're going to do later on, we flatten the meat. Now I'm not a big fan of taking the meat and putting it in the freezer. Restaurants do that, and I think one of the biggest rip-offs in entrees in restaurant and fine dining are carpaccios, because chefs cut the meat so thin it barely covers the plate. If you scrape it together, it's not even a tablespoonful of meat. So that's how it was originally done, because restaurants do not have meat slices, and butchers usually have meat slices. So what you do here, what you see me doing here, is basically taking a very, very tender meat, and the meat needs to be really, really fresh. It cannot be anything dry aged. It cannot be a meat that sort of has, a flavor developed through aging, or has been too long in a Cryback bag with too much juice, because that will affect the meat badly. So very, very fresh meat. You then take those meat slices, you put them on a piece of kitchen papers. You can use glad wrap, but as you know, glad wrap is a very, very toxic material, which we have in our kitchen, like all sorts of plastics are. And then I just put it between another sheet of paper, and then I just sort of roll it thinly. I want to flatten it out a bit. You could also bash it a bit, like you see here. If you don't have a rolling pin, just use an empty wine bottle. So what I basically do now, tenderize the meat, and because it is an eye fillet, it is so tender already. So now I can just go around and I trim those edges off and sort of shape the meat sheet until it's really, really nice and round. I mean, if you want to make that absolutely perfect, you can cut it out, and you can turn the meat trimmings into beef tartare, which I show in one of the other videos. So just work that thing until it's really, really round, until it's really perfect. And like that, I could basically put it in the fridge for quite a while. I could even freeze it down. So it's a really good dish for a dinner party, and I'll show you my courses as well. Other carpaccios like fish carpaccios, but they're done a little bit different. So here we go. No freezing required, no meat slicing required, and you will have a much, much nicer texture. But the key is you use fresh, tender meat that does not dry aged and doesn't have too much sort of vacuum pack flavors. And that's it. Here we go. There's a beef carpaccio. So next, let's make the sauce. So I'm gonna make myself a tuile. So I want to show you that as well. A tuile is something that you can use when you work with sugar work. In my case, I want to spread the mayonnaise really, really nicely over the carpaccio. So basically just start rolling the tuile on the longest side. So the longest side will be the tip. Now you can see me rolling that together. So now push the tuile forward. So push the tip forward, and so that it becomes basically really, really tight. It closes itself up. Then fold the paper that's on the outside, inside, and then the inside paper you fold on the outside. And that should stabilize the tuile. Now if you're worried about it, you can always put you can use a staple and just staple it in, and here we go. That's your tuile. And now I'm going to fill in that my mayonnaise, and then I sprinkle it over the beef carpaccio, and that should be then working out pretty well. So just got some mayonnaise, which in my case I made a whole egg mayonnaise. I get some hot English mustard, and it's very important that the mustard is hot, because you want to have that really hot mustard so that it can counterreact or counterbalance the strong or the flavor of the raw meat. Otherwise it gets a bit boring. So here we go. Then the mayonnaise goes in. Try to get it as far down the tuile as you can. Then fold the tuile over. So I'm going to fold it at the end so that you basically nothing comes out on the top. And then I'm just going to drizzle that over my beef carpaccio, and then I'll show you how to finish it. Now, here we go. So I hope you liked my video. If you do, please subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos. And now I just drizzle that mayonnaise over, and it looks pretty. So I'm just gonna leave it a zigzag today, although the original recipe has crosses over it. And then you can garnish it, as I said before, with rocket salad, Parmesan cheese, pepper, or in my case, I just put a few sprinkles of gerbil over it. If I would have some fresh truffles, I've shaved some truffles over it too. And that's how simple you make a beef carpaccio. And as I said, it lasts in the fridge easily for a few hours before you serve it, and it's a great dish that you can serve on a hot summer day. And some little herbs on the top. I add a bit of gerbil. And I hope you enjoyed my video. So send me a message, let me know what you think of it, and check out my other videos, and I see you next time.